Stop. Don't tap the screen. This is the moment that separates a man who bows from a man who stands. Your thumb hovering over the keyboard is louder than anything you could type. It's a verdict delivered in a breath. Nervous breathing writes its own text. Panic types faster than reason can think. When you grab your phone to dull the ache, you trade leverage for a quick hit. That's the transaction. You hand over dignity for temporary warmth. The temporary always wins the moment. The lesson is patient. The impulse is selfish. Sending a message to soothe yourself is a quiet surrender dressed as bravery. It fixes nothing. It trains a pattern. Picture this. One man lives his days without checking for replies. Another lives waiting for an icon to blink. One makes moves, the other reacts. Who would you back? Who would you respect? Your life answers that question before you do. Notice the itch without scratching it. Look at the motive behind the words you want to send. Is this clarity or a craving for reassurance? Most drafts are driven by fear. Fear wants comfort, not consequences. If you comfort the fear grows allergic to discipline. Prioritize posture over panic. Silence is not a failing. Silence is a tool. Use it like a blade, precise and intentional. When you refuse the reflex, you create space. That space protects your time, your values, and your center. Make presence rare where it matters most. Emotionally. Scarcity here isn't deception, it's structure. Reveals worth. Think of absence like a force. It pulls attention without shouting. It accumulates weight the longer it persists. The person left in the quiet feels the gravity before they can name it. That feeling rearranges what they value. It separates options from essentials. Essentials stay. Options fade. Stop treating your phone as a savior. Most messages thrown from weakness become anchors dragging you toward outcomes that beneath you. Wait and act from ground, not flinch. When you decide the conversation matters again, you speak with authority. When you speak from calm, your words land. They count. They don't plead. You don't need to manufacture coldness. You need to cultivate steadiness. Fear makes you loud. Strength makes you still. You can care without being constantly available. That difference draws respect. It's a clear line between dignity and desperation. Learn that line. Honor it. Breathe. Do the internal work. Build a life that doesn't swing on response patterns. Let silence do its job. Let absence do the work words can't. When you come back to speak, let your lines be currency, dense, valuable, intentional, not loose change tossed to soothe a momentary itch. Demand more of yourself than a reply. Build a daily standard where your attention is earned. When you act from that standard, your silence becomes a signal, not emptiness but authority. Own that power. Energy is the currency beneath every message. The words matter, but the feeling behind them pays the bill. When you send a note, you trade an emotional signal. That signal carries weight long before the receiver reads the letters. The tone in which something is written announces your state. A calm line lands like a statement. A shaky line reads like an invitation to steer you. Think of texting as a broadcast, not a private whisper. Your state travels through punctuation, rhythm, and timing. Speed betrays hunger. Typos betray rush. Over-explaining betrays insecurity. Brevity backed by purpose broadcasts control. Long paragraphs that justify act like a rope tied to your feelings. The medium doesn't mute motive. It amplifies it. Every reply starts a new economy. Responses create expectations. A man who gives too much sets a rate that becomes hard to lower. Attention becomes a habit for others and a debt for you. When you cheapen your presence, you reduce your influence. When you ration your availability, your presence rises in value. Scarcity isn't about games, it's about boundaries. Feel before you type. Ask if this message changes anything or only soothes you. If the goal is clarity, deliver it cleanly. If the goal is relief, do not send. Relief is a private job. Clarity is a public act. Clarity has direction. Relief is circular and addictive. Choose one. Recognize the grammar of attraction. Confidence reads in decisive punctuation. Need screams between ellipses. Assurance shows in single-sentence power. Presence is steady, urgency is jagged. The rhythm you type becomes a mirror for the rhythm you live by. Make your keyboard reflect your backbone. Tone travels faster than facts. A factual line can land poorly if it's trembling. A vulnerable truth can land well if it's steady. Vulnerability without structure becomes chaos. Structure without feeling becomes cold calculus. You want the balance, honest content carried by calm cadence. That mix is magnetic. Timing is a tone. Sending right away signals availability. Waiting signals life beyond the chat. Life beyond a conversation cannot be faked. Build things that require your time so your delays are honest. When you are genuinely engaged elsewhere, your absence tells truth rather than strategy. Read signals, not stories. Interpret timestamps, not assumptions. A late reply means context. A short reply means capacity. Interpret conservatively. Do not invent crises from silence. Most silence is neutral. Treat it like data, not drama. When you return to the thread, make the re-entry count. Open with consequence, not concession. Do not apologize for distance. Distance was a choice to protect your center. Re-engage with a line that adds voltage rather than drains it. Make your words recover value instead of exposing deficit. Remember that energy compounds. One steady pause builds reputation. One panic check negates weeks of discipline. Your digital habits write a biography of who you are. Make sure that biography matches the man you intend to be. Live by the rhythm your messages suggest rather than react to the rhythm others dictate. Teach yourself restraint until it is reflex. Let curiosity mount naturally. When she senses genuine steadiness, attraction shifts from casual to serious, because authentic composure outlives performative drama and flimsy noise. Always. Before you type, interrogate the motive. Why are you reaching for her name? Is it curiosity, comfort, or a conditioned reflex? Truth is brutal. Most messages are born from a craving, not clarity. Cravings look like excuses dressed as conversation. Clarity sounds like decisions. Don't confuse feeling with need. A tight chest doesn't mandate a message. An ache isn't an instruction. Feelings arrive to inform, not to drive. If you act every time your mood shifts, you outsource your emotional governance. Ask yourself one clean question. Do I want information or consolation? If it's information, phrase a single, purposeful line. If it's consolation, keep it private. Therapy, workout, journaling. Fix yourself before you fetch validation through a screen. Validation bought in text costs long-term dignity. Inventory the outcome you expect. Are you chasing a reaction or changing a dynamic? If the expected result is prove I still matter, you're fishing? Fishing looks like pleading. Pleading sounds like clinging. Clinging rewrites attraction into obligation. Measure the ratio between impulse and consequence. A drunk text can erase a week of composed absence. A desperate voice can undo months of steady behavior. Small slips compound. Discipline protects reputation. Reputation attracts. Let that sink in. Flip the scenario. Imagine she texts you asking for reassurance. How would you respond if you were grounded? You wouldn't sprint to soothe an ego. You would evaluate the need, conserve clarity, and reply from a place of purpose. Mirror that approach toward yourself before you act. Check the script you tell yourself. Just one text is the same lie dressed in different hours. The script repeats. Break the narrative. Replace it with a different line. I respond when I add value. Make that your rule. Rules remove drama. Name the fear aloud. Say it in your head. I fear losing her. When you give fear language, it loses grip. Words make fear manageable. Once named, evaluate truth. Losing someone who hungers for your panic is not loss. That truth is freeing. Set a minimum standard for communication. Not a timetable. A standard. I engage when the exchange is respectful, mutual, and meaningful. Standards are silent boundaries. They do not humble you. They hone you. Recognize the difference between accountability and appeasement. Accountability holds people to clarity. Appeasement buys temporary peace at the cost of influence. Which one builds the kind of life you want? Choose. Practice a pause ritual. Close the app. Breathe for 3 counts. Walk for 5 minutes. Text the draft into notes and revisit after an hour. Most drafts implode on inspection. If the message still feels clean later, consider sending. If it feels needy, delete it. Own the possibility of no reply. The risk is part of the economy. Risk validates your sovereignty. If you cannot tolerate silence, you will sell your attention cheap. If you can, your attention becomes scarce and valuable. Finally, hold yourself accountable to one discipline. Tell a friend or write it down and enforce it. External checks make internal strength less taxing. The brutal question becomes a habit, not an interrogation but an instrument. Use it until restraint becomes reflex and you stop treating your phone like a weather vane for your worth. Silence carries answers even when no one speaks. Absence exposes truth by removing distraction. When you stop filling space, the real patterns surface. Small habits reveal themselves loudest in the quiet. Habits that were invisible amid noise become screamingly obvious in stillness. Treat the pause like a diagnostics test. What behavior emerges when attention isn't guaranteed? You learn more from what fills the silence than from what people claim in words. People behave the way they are when nobody's watching, and silence simulates that private audience. Use silence to calibrate value. If she notices and moves toward you, the attraction was real. If she doesn't, maybe there was never a foundation. The quiet separates performance from authenticity. Social applause masks cracks. Stillness unmasks them. Silence forces reflection. She has to sit with the aftermath of her choices without your reactions to cushion the fall. That pressure can break narratives built on convenience. People pay attention differently when outcomes are not immediate. Leverage the quiet to measure respect. Reactions often reveal hierarchy in a relationship. Who reaches first? Who adjusts expectations to soothe the other? If you find yourself always changing to chase equilibrium, the balance was never equal. Silence disciplines expectation. When you pull energy away, you also pull entitlement. The expectation that your attention is owed diminishes. That absence returns agency to whoever was taking it. Agency shifts attraction. Understand the psychology. Humans fill voids with stories. She will edit the past, invent explanations, and test conclusions. Those mental stories will either bring her closer to truth or deepen her delusion. Neither outcome is your responsibility. Your role is to remain steady. Don't confuse silence with punishment. The point is not to hurt but to clarify. Pain without purpose is cruelty. Pain with purpose is a form of clarity that forces honest assessment. You choose intention over retaliation. Silence acts like pressure on a soft object. Weak behaviors compress and reveal their inner hollowness. Strength resists change and shows resilience. That contrast draws attention the way distance highlights shape. Act like a magnet, not a net. Nets catch whatever drifts into them. Magnets attract what is naturally drawn. Absence is the magnetic field that allows the right things to come without force. It weeds out distraction. Silence also conserves energy. Every reactive move costs you momentum. The less you feed drama, the more you invest in growth. Conservation builds momentum silently but powerfully. When you return to speak, do so from updated information. The quiet gave you data. Use it to choose differently. Respond to substance, not to noise. The voice you reintroduce should be informed by what the silence revealed. Let the pause reveal alignment. If values realign, proceed. If they don't, the pause saved you time. Silence is not passive waiting, it's active curation. It sifts signals from the static. Finally, accept that silence is uncomfortable on purpose. Growth is rarely comfortable. If the silence bothers you more than the lesson, you missed the point. Sit through it. Learn. Emerge sharper, calmer, and more exact about what you will accept going forward. Silence trains character. It forces better choices, exposes weak commitments, and separates casual interest from deliberate, actionable devotion over time. Timing is everything. Move too fast and you turn power into panic. Move too slow and bitterness eats possibility. The secret isn't a calendar. It's a nervous system. Most men treat timing like a checklist. Send message after X days. Wait Y hours. That's mechanical thinking. Human emotion refuses to be scheduled. Timing is context, not formula. Feel the weather of the moment. Are you calm or frantic? Are you responding from momentum or from meaning? If your chest tightens when you draft, that's a bad signal. If your mind is clear, your message will land without dragging you. Don't confuse absence with avoidance. Holding ground can be strategic. But hiding behind silence because you are wounded is cowardice. The line between strategy and stubbornness is what determines outcome. Avoid the urge to control the timeline. Trying to force results with rapid messages only proves urgency. Urgency lowers your value. Value respects tempo. Tempo reserves influence. Recognize natural rhythms. Some conversations need space to breathe. Some need immediate action to prevent damage. Be honest about the stakes before you decide. Not every pause is a victory. Not every reply is a mistake. Set a baseline for reaction. Your baseline is not a rule to manipulate. It is a habit that protects your center. React with purpose. Don't react to prove you exist. Existence isn't validated by notifications. Read social signals like a pro. Frequency decreases insight. Volume increases noise. If her answers shorten and her tone cools, timing alone won't fix it. You need alignment. Timing only amplifies alignment, it doesn't manufacture it. Stay wary of rescue texts. The desire to fix discomfort with quick contact is a trap. Rescue moves teach dependency. Dependency is the death of attraction. Learn to sit with unresolved tension. When you do decide to re-engage, make the first line count. Begin with a neutral action or a high-value observation. Remove apology as an opening. Apology implies instability. Stability invites conversation. Understand the law of momentum. Momentum compounds. A steady absence builds weight. A frantic return cancels that weight. Protect your curve. Let it grow or let it die. Don't sabotage what discipline achieved. Trust your calendar only when life actually changes. A new event, a genuine update, a shift in priorities, those are honest reasons to reach out. Don't manufacture drama to justify contact. Authenticity reads instantly. Learn to measure time by integrity, not by fear. If a pause proves anything, it proves what reactions are rooted in. Time reveals patterns. Patterns reveal character. Character is why people stay. Use timing as a signal to yourself. If you feel tempted to text because you miss a version of the relationship, that's nostalgia, not necessity. If you text because you have new value to share, that's contribution. Keep your exits soft and your returns precise. Leave with dignity. Return with intent. Both acts require discipline. Both acts communicate who you are without saying it. Finally, remember this: timing shapes consequence, but it does not override truth. If two people are aligned, timing speeds reunion. If they are not, timing only clarifies separation. Use it to accelerate truth, not to delay it. Choose timing that honors growth, clarity, and courage. Containment is the skill of holding your center when chaos pulls at you. Comfort demands a response. Containment demands presence. One wants to soothe a wound. The other wants to strengthen the muscle that created it. You cannot have both and expect to stay whole. When your gut screams to reach out, ask which voice you are serving. Is it the craving for calm or the command to grow? Acting for comfort treats emotion as command. Acting for containment treats emotion as data you can process. Move from reaction to regulation. It refuses to be reactive. It answers when the answer changes the geometry of the relationship. Comfort answers to soothe the moment. Containment answers to shape the future. Learn the difference. A man who seeks comfort via messages hands over his autonomy piece by piece. He patches a feeling with external validation. That patch never holds. The next tear comes quicker. Containment is like a stitch that reinforces the fabric. It costs more effort up front but prevents future unraveling. You will feel the urge to explain. Explanations are often cover art for insecurity. They attempt to redraw the scene so the critic inside you is appeased. Containment keeps the scene in place until the facts are clearer. It refuses to gloss reality with justification. Say less and carry more weight in fewer words. Do things that occupy your attention genuinely: training, work, craft. The distracted man is not distant because he doesn't care. He is distant because he has priorities that demand him. Containment reframes vulnerability. Vulnerability delivered from a stable place is strength. Vulnerability delivered from fracture invites repair that belongs to the other person. You can be open without outsourcing your healing. Share truth only when you stand on firm ground. Notice how comfort seeks immediate reciprocity. It wants a return echo that soothes the original pain. Containment tolerates silence and resists the barter of attention. It converts the expectation of instant soothe into a test of character. Those who remain are not the needy, they are the chosen. Boundaries are the physical law of containment. Clear limits teach others how to engage with you. Without limits, people remodel you to fit their habit. With limits, people decide if they want to keep you as you are. That choice elevates respect. Containment demands patience with yourself. You will feel lonely. Loneliness is not failure. It signals you're stepping out of the old economy of constant reassurance. Loneliness is the vestibule of growth. Walk through it. Containment also trains honesty. If you only ever send comforting lines, you gaslight the true state of things. To others and to yourself. The man who holds steadiness reports truth with calibration. That truth becomes the scaffolding for real repair or real release. When you respond after practicing containment, your words land differently. They are not anchors thrown to stop a ship. They are ropes offered to climb aboard voluntarily. It shifts power from plea to proposition. Containment is not cruelty. It is the discipline of tending to your inner architecture so you show up whole. When you prefer containment over comfort, you teach people to value what you actually offer rather than the temporary fix they chase. Stay steady. Look at what silence shows you when the noise drops away. A quiet removes performance, it leaves raw behavior. You cannot fake consistency when there is no applause. Patterns become visible. Habits start to look like character. Act like an observer. Watch how actions match promises. People will keep pretending until the mirror reveals the truth. Noticing is information you use to choose. Notice the little defaults. The small slippages that accumulate into a portrait. Missed calls, late replies, half-effort apologies. They sketch a shape over time. Those tiny things add up to decisive signals. Let your silence be a truth detector. When reactions stop getting fed, the true self shows up. The person who leans in for drama will keep leaning. The person who values steadiness will reveal that too. People will perform when they want a reaction. Performance is temporary. Authentic patterns last. Don't confuse theater for intimacy. One entertains, the other builds a foundation. Use absence to test loyalty. If concern rises without your prompt, that concern is real. If nothing changes, the investment was one-sided. That reality spares you wasted energy later. Reflect on how others define you without your narration. Do people step up when challenged? Do they honor boundaries when tests are subtle? Answering those questions gives clarity about fit and future. Let the mirror of silence correct illusions. When there is no immediate audience, weak structures tremble. Robust commitments hold. Your role is to observe, not to rescue the image. Pay attention to the stories she tells herself about you. In the quiet, those stories shift quickly. Pride rewrites memory. Absence exposes the edits. Watch the revision process. Discern between fear-driven acts and value-driven acts. Fear-driven moves are frantic and loud. Value-driven moves are calm and measurable. The mirror separates them by showing consistent habit. Notice whether empathy reciprocates. True empathy shows up without scoring. If kindness is conditional, it collapses under pressure. The mirror makes that obvious. When you refrain, watch how respect reconfigures. Respect either grows to match your steadiness or it does not. That outcome tells you exactly where you stand. Observe who maintains boundaries and who tests them. Some will push to see what will give. Others will accept limits and engage with integrity. The mirror does not lie about durability. Let the silence show who values mutual growth. People who are committed will use the space to reflect and adjust. Those who are not will use it to justify absence and blame. Treat the information you receive like data, not proof of worth. Facts about behavior instruct decisions. They do not define your value. Use them to align your next move. Remember that the mirror is selective, not exhaustive. It reveals habits, not intentions. Intentions matter, but they become credible only after repeated behavior. Use what you learn to calibrate conversation. Speak from facts the mirror delivered. Ask for adjustments that are measurable. Demand evidence, not promises. Finally, let the reflection free you. When you can read someone by how they act in absence, you no longer need to chase illusions. You act with clarity. That clarity preserves your dignity and attracts the people who deserve a place in your life. Always, panic makes you small. It presses you forward, reaching for small comforts and instant answers. Gravity does the opposite. It pulls without strain. It holds still while the world rushes past. Cultivating that pull starts with slowing the first impulse that wants contact. When your chest tightens, practice a reset. Breathe in a count that interrupts the sprint. Hold long enough to feel whether the move is strategic or reflexive. The pause is not weakness, it is a checkpoint. Use it to separate instinct from intention. Replace frantic reactions with deliberate rhythms. Build routines that require patience so your responses match the tempo of a life well ordered. Fill minutes with motion that matters, sweat, work, study, so your attention is not available at the slightest provocation. Presence that attracts is calm under stress. It does not scream to be noticed. It radiates a quiet reliability that other people notice before they name it. That reliability becomes a standard they unconsciously measure themselves against. Authority in relationships comes from steady presence, not loud apologies. Speak rarely and with consequence. Let your availability be a resource earned, not a default. People will adjust to scarcity when scarcity is honest. Let curiosity replace panic. Wonder about outcomes instead of predicting disaster. Curiosity keeps you engaged with options rather than stuck in scarcity. Ask questions that expand possibilities. Don't craft messages aimed at stanching fear. Own your calendar. A life with true gravity has active commitments that make you unavailable sometimes, and unavailable honestly. When you are honestly busy, your delays tell truth. When you manufacture absence, the story smells off. Build a schedule that deserves your silence. Show up recalibrated. If a reply is necessary after space, make it count. Bring new information, fresh energy, or calm perspective. Do not recycle the same reactive lines you used before. People notice growth when your words evolve alongside your actions. Prioritize self-possession over outcomes. Your aim should not be to control hearts but to anchor yourself. Anchoring attracts because it offers stability when others provide volatility. Stability beats drama every time. Resist the temptation to narrate your inner weather. People do not need a play-by-play of your anxiety. Offer clarity when it helps the story move forward. Withhold it when it only feeds temporary comfort. Practice the skill of silence as a demonstration of composure, not as a weapon. Hold your center so that if relationships shift, your worth does not. That integrity attracts people who can meet you without breaking. Test your new behavior in small arenas first. Let a minor pause at a text thread become practice for larger weights. Build resilience with tiny acts of self-control until the reflex transforms into a muscle. Finally, accept that gravity grows slowly. It is cumulative. Each steadied breath, each purposeful delay, each considered line compounds into a presence that alters the field around you. Over time, people stop chasing your attention. They start to seek your company. Let your life be proof, not performance. Build routines and relationships that require your best. As your center hardens, chaos calms. People notice the change and come willingly. They don't return to a man who begs for his place anymore. When you decide to break the silence, make it a calibrated move. Open with something that adds information, not with a plea. Show up like an update, not a confession. Keep it economical. Long monologues drain authority. Short statements restore it. Lead with value. Say what changed in your world, not what you wish would change in hers. New context beats repeated explanations. When you communicate new information, you give others a reason to reconsider, not an invitation to rehearse old patterns. Novelty shifts the field. Skip the apology that pretends absence was a mistake. Absence was intentional or it was accidental. Own either way. If it was strategic, speak like someone who had a method. If it was chaos, speak like someone who learned. Neither needs groveling. Start with an action. Mention something you did that reaffirms your priorities. A project update or a travel plan demonstrates life beyond the thread. Showing movement communicates independence. Independence reframes attraction. Ask a precise question when you need clarity. Avoid vague probes that demand reassurance. Are you free Tuesday? Beats we should catch up. One asks for commitment. The other asks for feelings. Commitments are measurable. Use tone as an instrument. Be calm, not cold. Steady, not detached. Indifference punishes. Composure commands. Make your cadence match the message. Slow where it matters, brisk where decision is required. Trim qualifiers. Remove softeners that undermine intent. Words that dilute your point invite negotiation. Make statements that fit your boundaries. Boundaries invite respect. Keep the opening short. Long openings reduce the chance of a measured reply. If you want a focused response, give a focused prompt. Clarity produces commitments. If you reference the past, do it without blame. Name one fact, no accusations, no rewrites. Facts parse truth. Drama is noise. Offer a single observation that situates the present. Offer next steps. Give dates, times, or options. People respond to structure. Offering choices narrows the field and prevents defaulting to reactive scripts. Structure invites cooperation. Don't use apologies as bargaining chips. Accountability differs from pleading. A clean admission takes 2 lines and no justification. Say it and move on. Resist explaining gaps. Explanations often shorten the lesson silence taught. Let the pause keep working. Speak into what you now build, not what you once tolerated. When they reply, parse information, not emotion. Treat responses as signals to interpret. Does it show alignment? Curiosity? Avoidance? React accordingly, not reactively. If the reply is small but sincere, follow with a contribution that scales the exchange. If it feels performative, withdraw. Maintain proportional engagement. Leave room for agency. Your message should invite choice. A dignified re-entry lets the other person meet you voluntarily rather than be coerced. Make re-engagement a test of reciprocity, not an audition for forgiveness. If dynamics shift in your favor, continue. If patterns repeat, withdraw without drama. Protect motion over nostalgia. End with a clear close. One sentence that states next steps or leaves the ball in their court preserves momentum and dignity. Keep it tight and carry on. Reintroducing yourself should feel like an upgrade, not a replay. Make every word count. Protect your standards. If respect follows, build. If it doesn't, keep moving forward without apology today. This final move is about closure that doesn't smell like revenge. You walk away with your head level and your standards intact. There's a quiet competence in finishing a chapter without dramatic exits or theatrical explanations. You do not perform a lesson, you embody it. The end is not a punishment, it is a boundary that protects the life you are building. When the relationship fades, treat the ending as a measuring tool. It shows who will adjust and who will make excuses. It clarifies what was transactional and what had depth. Use that information to choose differently next time. Decisions guided by evidence beat decisions guided by craving. Become someone who leaves contact on terms that preserve dignity. You do not need to erase memory to move forward. You need to stop letting memory dictate your behavior. Take what served you and discard what hollowed you out. Growth looks like less noise and more selective investment. Don't confuse closure with closure rituals that mask avoidance. Real ending is an internal adjustment. You stop checking screens for permission to feel okay. You stop rehearsing old scenes to validate your worth. You replace those rituals with practices that anchor you. Mornings that matter, work that stretches you, friendships that sharpen you. Grief will come and that's fine. Let it run its course without asking permission. Grief doesn't mean you failed. It means you were honest enough to care. But don't let grief become a permanent state. Honor it briefly and then convert it into work. The work of becoming incidentally better in every area of your life. Rebuild around values that don't require external confirmation. Define who you are by what you do, not by who replies. Let a new metric govern your days. Consistency of action. When your calendar reflects your priorities, your phone loses system power over your mood. If she returns, treat the re-entry as an audition, not an entreaty. Let actions speak louder than pleas. Test alignment with small steps and clear questions. Demand reciprocity in behavior, not promises. If she wants access, require proof. If she doesn't, preserve your progress. Practice kindness without confusion. Be humane to the person who once mattered without diluting your standards. You can wish someone well and still refuse to accept toxic cycles. Generosity is not permission to be taken for granted. Let success be your message. Build work, health, and habits that make silence a better option than drama. Success isn't loud boast. It's steady results. When your life gains momentum, people notice, and not because you screamed for attention but because you stopped begging for it. Guard your attention like capital. Spend it wisely. Small acts of restraint compound into credibility. People who can wait demonstrate reliability, and reliability forms the foundation of anything durable. Finally, know that leaving well is often the strongest demonstration of love. Not the clinging, the savoring, the rescue, those are temporary. The love that lasts is the kind that elevates both people, even if it means they walk different paths. If you want more tactics like this and daily drills to build unshakable presence, subscribe and hit the bell. New lessons drop weekly. Join now, transform your life.